Well, good morning, and welcome to the worship at Kenwood Community Church and to our fellowship time. Today we're privileged to have our good friend, Dr. Keith Boxerman, the Kenwood dentist here. He's been a long-term resident in Kenwood. Also happened to be Jewish, and since Friday was the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, and it's a two-day celebration. We thought it would be fitting to have someone of the Jewish faith here to talk about that. So, welcome, Dr. Boxerman.
Thank you very much, and it's delightful to be here, both with you and with the fellows, the fellowship.
Great. So, tell us a little something about Rosh Hashanah, the derivation, the history, maybe in context of other Jewish holidays or high holy days, and what's its special significance?
So, first of all, I'm going to have a disclaimer, and that is I'm no expert. I may do a little bit of editorializing from my own unique perspective as a Jewish person. Hopefully it won't be fake news, but it'll be illuminating. So, Pastor Larry, you said something about a two-day holiday. Mm-hmm. The fact that it is a two-day holiday in itself is unique. And so I had to do a little research to discover that it goes all the way back. So this is the year 5,781.
Wow.
Per the Jewish calendar.
Okay.
Which is a lunar calendar. So the Semites, way back when, their beginning of their calendar began, believe it or not, in autumn. And it was tied directly, practically speaking, to the harvest.
Makes sense.
Well, the lunar calendar, they had to be very certain that the new moon was the first of the month, and for everybody to know when they didn't have cell phones and communication that it was the first of the month, it took them 2 days to both locate the new moon as well as tell everybody it was the new moon. So Rosh Hashanah happens to be a two-day holiday, unique to most Jewish holidays.
Or holidays in general.
Holidays in general, yes, right. So what's unique about Rosh Hashanah is it is, first of all, there is a month called the month of Elul, which is the month before the month of Tishrei. And so Rosh Hashanah is the first day of Tishrei. Okay. And Elul is the time that observant Jews prepare their mind, body, households for what's called the days of awe. And Rosh Hashanah is the first of the days of awe that are 10 days. Rosh Hashanah is intimately connected to Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah specifically is very celebratory, happy occasion. It is also the beginning of reflection on the previous year. I should say that Judaism is very based on what we do here and what we do now. It is not as much, I shouldn't say as much, but it's not so much heaven-based, even though we would like to be with God in heaven, but it's about what we do on the ground now. Okay. So the sense of reflection is really to look back at the year before, see what we call hitting the mark or missing the mark, and then committing to do better in the year to come. So Rosh Hashanah, more on a practical note or literary note, means head of the year. Rosh Hashanah, Rosh, head, Hashanah, year.
Okay.
And it's also considered the birthday of earth, in the sense that it's when God made the covenant to man, Adam and Eve. So it's considered the birthday of the earth, of our world, which is much to be celebrated.
Absolutely, very much so. So you said earlier, it's a day. There's a time beforehand, the month of Elul. Didn't say that right, maybe.
No, that's good.
Similar.
Very, very well.
There's a much preparation. So how does one prepare for this great celebration of creation?
That's one of those questions. Not being an expert, I don't have a very long answer to that. But much of that preparation is really a mindset. Mindset. I think we're in Passover, for example, and Passover has a tradition of going back to the Israelites leaving Egypt and the matzah.
Mhm.
So we would remove all the bread, all the yeast rising bread. So where it's not a physical, it's more a mindset of beginning the reflection period, beginning to think upon the year past, beginning to focus on, okay, how has my behavior been with myself, and then transitioning to thinking about the year ahead. So it's more a mental preparation, although I do think, for example, the rabbis, the high holidays time, they will wear all white with their robes. So I think there's a mental and physical. There may be some cleaning within the household, but that I'm not sure of that. Okay.
Probably. Somewhat analogous, I would think, to, not exactly, but similar to our season of Lent, which is a time of reflecting on one's past and where one maybe have fallen short and what one might want to do going forward. So sounds very similar.
Yeah. I think there are
So
many
it's a day-
commonalities.
I'm sorry, what?
I think there are many commonalities when we look at our rituals and our
Yeah.
traditions in that way.
So it's a day of or 2 days of celebration. How does one celebrate?
Good question. So celebration is individual as well as communal. So from a family standpoint, celebration is a wonderful dinner. So tonight, Friday night, is what we call Erev Rosh Hashanah, the eve of Rosh Hashanah, because we start our evening with sundown. So then tonight would be a wonderful dinner
Okay.
and family together. And I brought a little wine so that Larry and I, at the culmination of this, can sip a little wine. So it would be a very celebratory dinner and happy occasion where people get together. And then, for those observant, would then go to synagogue the next day, and there would be a service the next day. And the service, the special Rosh Hashanah service, oftentimes things I can remember are telling the story of Jonah and the whale.
Okay.
Is a very traditional part of it. And we're getting close to another Jewish holiday called Simchas Torah. And if you all know, the Torah is 2 sets of scrolls, so it's circular. So in another month or so, the Torah will have been totally read, and then we start over again.
That's a really interesting and very symbolic way of looking at, reading from beginning to end, so to speak.
Right. I think personally, that's one of the wonderful things I like about Judaism, is the different symbols and different kind of unique thoughtfulness of the circularness of life in the world and all, and it's put into certain traditions.
That's very great. That's good. That's good.
So celebration. So then individually, or maybe with family, then having a service communally is one of the things that we do is, so let's say we miss the mark and strive to do better. Well, communally, we also look at ourselves community-wise of the mark. So we ask for forgiveness. That's more about Yom Kippur. But we ask for forgiveness not only as individuals, but we ask for forgiveness as a community as well, and communal sins, if I use that word, as opposed to individual, or along with individual.
So that leads me to understand now why. So one of the questions I was going to ask you: why does this 10 days of awe sort of bleed in, or blend into Yom Kippur, a Day of Atonement, which is more somber and reflective? But I get it now, since it's the time of, have we missed the mark? How do we atone for that? How do we move forward? It makes more sense.
And I think, and this is me editorializing, but I think if you remember, the time of year is autumn. So celebratory, if it's tied to harvest, the Semites are being grateful and thankful and celebrating that they've got a harvest. They've got food to eat. And so it goes from celebratory to then realizing, okay, how can we do better? Judaism is very practical, and I think it's also very, has the joyous side, also has the responsibility side. How do we then go into the new year and strive to be better. We have a theological philosophy that is tikkun olam, and tikkun olam means that we are to partner with God in a broken world to heal a broken world. Okay? So to me it fits with, you got to pay attention to what you did, you've got to recognize that, you have to look at the new year ahead, and this is the days of awe are all focused on that particular period.
There's one major thing we should focus on, I guess. It's the shofar, the horn. What's the significance about that?
Okay, so ancient times, the ram, the sheep, was used for sacrifice, and so the shofar, which is a early form of the trumpet, was blown, and so it was a form of communication. So we are talking about a very deep spiritual event.
Wow.
So the shofar was blown to wake people up, to get them to pay attention, to get out of our, what we do as people, and we get focused on things, and it was to wake them up to both the new year, to wake them up to, hey, let's pay attention, let's reflect, let's, strive. So it was meant to gain people's attention and wake them up.
That's great.
Huh?
Maybe we should blow a shofar in our services on a regular basis. We all need an accounting, an awareness. So our time is basically running down. You brought some wine for us. Any symbolism over and above what you've already said about the wine?
Not specifically to Rosh Hashanah. Wine is with all Jewish festivals, all Jewish customs and all. And since wine is maybe the essence of life and the essence of miracles, we plant these grapes. God gives us this earth, and out of these grapes, through our efforts, all of a sudden wine comes about. So it's symbolic of the miracle and the combination of God and humans in that sense.
Well, since we're living in Sonoma County and we're literally right now harvesting our crops of grapes,
I would like to first make a little apology. Oops. Not that I've had a lot of wine today, but so one of the greatest customs of Rosh Hashanah is dipping apples, cut apples into honey. And I forgot to bring us apples and honey because that signifies we want to have a sweet year. And so let's just metaphorically dip.
Symbolically,
Yes.
our own little apple
Dip
into honey.
and take
There
a
you
bite
go.
of that because I
Sweetness
wish you
of
a
life.
sweet year.
And you as well.
Okay.
God's blessing.
So here's what we do. Baruch,
Baruch,
atah,
atah,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Eloheinu,
Eloheinu,
melech,
melech,
haolam,
halam,
bosher,
bosher,
asher,
asher,
borei,
borei,
peri,
puri,
hagafen.
hagafen.
Blessed art thou, O Lord our God, who created wine from the earth. And then l'chaim.
L'chaim.
Okay?
Thank you, Keith, for being here. Dr.
In the
Boxerman.
spirit of Rosh Hashanah, it's good Yontif, wishing
Okay.
you a good year ahead. And one last thing. So now you get me. My family teases me I'm Rabbi Keith. It's Lashana Tova Tikvatenu. Okay?
Okay.
So we don't often, as Jews, imagine the guy up there on his throne paying attention. But we do have that as part of our theology. So Lashana Tova Tikvatenu means I wish for you to be written into the book of life. And that means that you led a good life. And you did many mitzvahs, which are good deeds. So
Dr. Boxerman, I wish for you to be written in the book of life and your family as well.
Thank you
And to all
very
you
much.
out there, God's blessings be with you this day and always. And thanks for joining us.